Welcome to the Experimental Aircraft channel. I am back here in Mooresville, North Carolina to check out this Bearhawk. Is it Mooresville?
What? No.
You do the intro.
It's Davidson, North Carolina. This is Bearhawk Life. And here's Brian. He came to visit today. We're going to take a look at the Bearhawk and see what we've done. Update.
These YouTubers are always trying to promote their channel. This is the Experimental Aircraft channel.
Bearhawk Life.
We'll give you an update coming up right now. Okay, Rob, so obviously you've done a lot since the last time I visited you, and it looks like it's that 90% to go.
Yep.
So tell me about, I guess, the paint.
So the paint, gosh, I can't believe it's been almost a year since I painted the aircraft, and I did it in that little garage, and I was not expecting a whole lot out of it, and it came out just, I hate to use the word flawlessly, but it came out so nice. And I really attribute that not to any sort of skill that I had, but basically Stewart Systems did such a fantastic job of giving us good instructions with their YouTube videos and really emphasizing the importance of having the right equipment, high flow fittings and a high capacity compressor, and using the right gun and all that sort of thing. So that's how this, it went down really well, and I'm pretty happy with it. So,
did you paint it right here in your garage? You just put up plastic or what?
I did. I painted it right there in the garage. I've got some air conditioning running through the bed from one of the bedrooms, pumping it into the garage, and then a couple fans pushing everything out here. And this is a waterborne paint, so I'm not really concerned or that worried about doing anything that's going to hurt the environment. And I couldn't have a solvent-based paint there because I live there. I can't deal with the fumes, so I didn't know what to expect with a waterborne paint, but it came out pretty nice. I'm real happy with it. So I want to talk about the interior. This is a bush plane, STOL plane, and it's kind of a more upgraded finish interior on mine. I will have the carpet. I do have the leather seats. I don't know. I don't think it's that much heavier, but it is a nicer finish. I like to refer to this. Actually, I didn't come up with the term, but Mike Silvernagel refers to this as the business traveler. So I wanted to make it look like a business traveler, and so this will be a backcountry airplane, but it won't be the sloppy, muddy boots and dragging dead moose in and out of the back of this thing. Hopefully not. Maybe some fish or something. Who knows? But anyway, one of the big things, probably one of the biggest challenges I had building this airplane was the doors, and I had to raise this threshold by 3 inches because the strut comes off of here, and I wanted to make sure that my gull wing doors didn't conflict or hit with the strut. So we raised the threshold up, and now I've got to make a door now I have to make a frame for my gull wing door, and I've been struggling with that. You want to look at this? This is the door frame I originally was working with. It's 4130 chrome moly, which is a light, hard steel, but it's still heavy.
Is this your own design too, or is this a kit?
Well, this is part of the original frame for the 4-place, where you had the bottom door that folds out and the window that flips up. I just welded them together. So it's the same sort of outline of the door. I just shortened these tubes, and then I added this bracket, and I wanted it to lock, so I put a Jeep handle on here, and now this thing's like 8 pounds, one door.
Okay.
So I made carbon fiber doors, and I'm about a third of the weight, and it'll be a full Lexan panel here, 1/8 inch thick, and I'll have flush mounted door handles with the locking. So these are all nice. They come in.
Yeah, that is flush. That's nice.
I'm not operating it correctly, but those are from Hendrix Manufacturing. There are a lot of vans, RVs have these, cozies and things like that, but this will be nice. It'll be some right here. So a lot of carbon fiber finishes. I'm using a lot more carbon fiber than I thought I would, but I just like the way it looks. And carbon fiber on the wing root panels, and that will also be where the sight gauges will go through there. I've been working with Tom Swearigan over at TS Flight Lines, and he's been giving me some pointers on how to mount those mount that sight gauge. Something I learned that I didn't know is that carbon fiber can create galvanic corrosion. And,
highly corrosive.
Yeah, and you can take a multimeter and put the two ends on here, and you'll get a signal. You'll get a current. You can detect.
So you need
a current.
to have some type of gasket between the metals.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that'll all be protected, and so even though I'll have aluminum anodized fittings for the bulkhead and for the sight gauges, the carbon fiber will not be touching those things. It'll be probably neoprene or something like that between them. I thought long and hard about where can I come up with some carbon fiber tube. I considered buying carbon fiber tube online. Just a 4-foot stick of carbon fiber tube is about $120, and I'm going to need a lot of 4-foot sticks, so it didn't seem like that would be too affordable. I bought a roll of carbon fiber twill, about a 30-foot roll, and I'm going to use this aluminum. One's a little bit bigger than the other. I made fixtures where I'll just lay my carbon fiber over the top. It'll be lined with Kevlar, and then 3 plies of carbon fiber over the top, and the end result will be 2 channels like this. Nice. And they come together, and the idea is I'll have a structural glue, like a 3M what is it called, 3M Scotch weld, and rivets, and by the time you're done you end up with something like this. Actually, I've got some aluminum lining in there too for the rivets to grab you. It's just really hard. I mean, it's super strong. So I'm pretty pleased with the way they came out. It took a long time, but the end result is pretty nice, I think.
All right, so this is what the end result was.
Yeah, so I made it a perimeter frame for the door. This is just a piece of sacrificial 1/16 Lexan, just so I can make a dry run at fitting what the window would look like. I will have a cross member that'll run through the middle here, and that's where my handle will mount, and then there'll be there'll be like a opposing crank that'll push the 2 rods into each side here. But it's very lightweight. It'll flip up.
Yeah, how much did you say that this weighs compared to the other system?
Well, one door, the steel door with that Jeep handle, was like 8 pounds, and I'm down to about 3.5, almost 4 pounds here. So almost 30%, 60% lighter.
If you're finding value in this video, hit the like button on this video, and it's really important that you subscribe, as it helps me get sponsors like Airworx, Kitplane parts, ACME AERO, Edge Performance engines, and Viking aircraft engines. And be sure to check out the links in the description below for special offers from our affiliates. Let's jump back in.
I don't have the iPad here, but this is the IFD Avidyne 540, the Dynon Skyview HDX. And then my controls are all mounted, if you can see my panels at a 30-degree angle. So
let me show that real quick. It's kind of leaning forward a good bit there.
Yep.
So to compensate, you made something custom.
Well, I had to make this block. I call it an offset block, so that my controls would run at a right angle to the pilot's arm, as opposed to running up and down like this, with the panel being faced forward. So it's a little bit of a challenge, but I think the outcome is pretty nice. This carpet and this leather are all certified aircraft grade material from a local upholsterer. He does a lot of boat interiors and some aircraft stuff, and he just knew exactly what to get. And
so I noticed you got a heap ton of weight back here. Obviously the Bearhawk can carry a lot of weight, but what's the deal with all the weights back there?
Well, when you put a 400-pound plus engine and you don't have wings and you don't have the rest of the weight on the entire airplane, you get a little nervous about the thing getting nose heavy. So that helps a little bit, even though I can still lift the tail, and it'll go over if I really wanted to.
What kind of horsepower engine weighs 400 pounds?
No, that's a Lycoming. It's a Thunderbolt from their experimental division. It's about 275 horsepower.
Wow. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, let's do it. So the engine itself was a challenge to mount. If you look at my other videos on Bearhawk Life, you'll see where I have these engine isolators and what a challenge it was to finally get that engine installed and mounted. And then afterwards I decided just to break everything down into individual components. So I went ahead and installed the exhaust system, and then I went ahead and installed the all the ignition system, all the wiring for the battery contactor, the starter contactor. There's 2 voltage regulators that get mounted on the firewall. Then I started working on fuel lines, and then I started working on oil lines, and the engine baffling, which really came after I installed the engine. Then came the engine baffling, and then I created this plenum to these engines. And it's a tightly cowled Bearhawk, and they don't get a lot of ventilation, so you want to try to do everything you can to push as much air through and across the fins on the cylinders as you can to get them to go out the back of the airplane. And hopefully this will create enough positive pressure to get the negative pressure to pull everything out the back end and keep it nice and cool.
Well, it's a awesome installation. And what have you got for a fuel system on here?
This is the Airflow Performance FM150 fuel injection system, fuel controller down here. This actually is it's an upward pump, or excuse me, the sump is an updraft sump, and this is a forward-facing controller, so I had to add this elbow to get that forward-facing controller lined up so that my intake would be through the nose bowl, as opposed to having an air box down here on the bottom. This kind of tightened up the cowl. Most of the Bearhawks have a draggy air box that sticks out through here. There's nothing wrong with it, but I just wanted to streamline it a little bit more.
It's a beautiful installation. I notice you've got not 1, but 2 alternators on this, huh? That's to run all those electronics up front?
Well, originally I was going to do electronic ignition, dual electronic ignition on this plane, and naturally we were going to do dual alternators. And over time, I have an explanation as to why I didn't do electronic ignition, but I just decided to keep the dual alternators. There's nothing wrong with them. They're BNC, and there's basically a control in here that detects when the voltage drops off the main. It just automatically turns on the backup, and then there's a light on the panel that tells you when that occurs. So it's just another peace of mind.
Which prop did you go with on this, Rob?
So this is the Hartzell Trailblazer constant speed prop. It's all composite prop. It's an experimental prop, and it's designed for backcountry bush flying, and it's got the nickel leading edge on it. You'll see a lot of the experimentals that are using this thing. It's very lightweight.
What size is it?
84 inch.
84.
Yeah, it's 84 inches, and when we had the tail up, we did a test fit of the wings a few months ago, and when we had the tail up, I wanted to see how much clearance I had, and at level flight I've still got 11 inches. So there's no way this thing will ever prop strike unless I just do a full nose over.
Nice.
I think one of the most underrated components on this airplane is the landing gear. This is an oleo suspension. It's an oil-filled tube with a spring. This is such a forgiving landing gear system. I've landed in a couple 4 places, and it's just like it sucks it right into the ground. It's just like there's not that spring gear or that bungee system that's going to just make you just bounce right back up in the air again. It seems like this landing gear system just is waiting for you to put it on the ground so it can hold you down and keep you secured to the ground. So it's a great landing gear system. Like I said, I think it's very underrated, but it's a nice feature with the Bearhawk. So Brian, it's really interesting and coincidence that you're here today, because I just got an email from Mark Goldberg. They just did a test flight on the Bearhawk Model 5.
Awesome.
Model 5 has been under kind of a covert ops for a long time now. It's actually so the specs on a Model 5, it's similar to the four place. It's 9 inches longer and it's 2 inches wider in the fuselage, and I got the notes here on it. The projected gross weight on this airplane is going to be 3,000 pounds, and the empty weight is about 1,520 to 1,650. So think about that. That's a huge payload. It's the same wing as the wing I have on my four-place and the same wing that's on the Patrols, which is the Harry Riblet airfoil, which is 186 square feet of wing area. So, which compares also to the Cessna 180s and 185s. They also have about 186 square feet of wing area. And this Model 5 is going to have a prototype Lycoming IO 580, which is a 315 horsepower engine, and they're testing it right now with a 3-bladed Hartzell Trailblazer carbon fiber prop. So brand new news. Mark Goldberg told me this afternoon that he's going to put out a PR announcement on this probably tomorrow, something like that. So another addition to the Bearhawk family, the Model 5.
That's awesome. One more option for the experimental market.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a beast. My gross on this is about $2,500, and so think about that. We're going to go to a projected $3,000 on the Model 5.
Rob, thanks again for the tour. I know it's been some time, but it's great to come back and follow up with builders and see progress, which you've made a lot of progress. But for those of other builders that are the first time seeing this, where can they follow you to see when you finish this thing as you go along? And also, you have a YouTube channel. Where can they find you?
Well, since the last time you were here, yeah, I did create a YouTube channel. It just started with doing a couple parts that I was really unsure about how they were to go together, and wanted to share that with other people that were building, and that just kind of evolved, and I'd make another video and another video, and now I have an intro, and now I've got music, and now I've got so Bearhawk Life is my YouTube channel. I plan to keep growing that channel right now, so I'm looking for more subscribers. And what we'll do is, once this thing's ready for flight testing, I do plan to document the whole phase 1 portion of that using that EAA guidelines that they've got out now on your first flight, and all the fundamentals and the testing that they think you should be doing, the recommendations. And so I want to share that, because I don't think there's enough of that out there. I couldn't find anything right now that talks about that phase 1 period of flying your experimental for the first time. So I'll document that and shoot, probably do some cross countries and just keep this thing going. So yeah.
Awesome. All right, well thanks for giving us another quick tour of your Bearhawk.
Thanks, Brian.
It's that time to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for watching.